Taiwan, I'm Liao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's former President Ying-jeou has finally met with Chinese President Xi Jinping during his visit to China, marking a historic second meeting between the two men. In opening comments ahead of a closed-door meeting, Xi emphasized the shared history between China and Taiwan and the need for continued exchanges. Ma warned against conflict in the Taiwan Strait, a message he's promoted throughout his trip to China. The first time the two met was nearly a decade ago in Singapore when Ma was still president of Taiwan. A senior U.S. diplomat says the U.S. is determined to maintain peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell was speaking at a town hall event in Washington, D.C., hosted by the National Committee on US-China Relations. He said an uptick in Chinese military activities in the region was concerning. He praised Taiwan's global role in the semiconductor manufacturing sector and said more countries are showing support for Taiwan.
In the past, it was often only the United States speaking alone about the absolute need to preserve peace and stability, to sustain the status quo across the Taiwan Strait. Increasingly larger numbers of international actors have spoken out as well.
It's been 45 years since the United States passed the Taiwan Relations Act, which laid out the relationship the two sides would have after Washington passed official recognition to Beijing. To discuss the act's legacy, our reporter Jeremy Olivier spoke with Tiffany Ma, a non-resident fellow at the National Bureau of Asian Research in Washington, D.C.
What is the Taiwan Relations Act, and how has it shaped US-Taiwan relations over the past 45 years?
Yeah, so I think the Taiwan Relations Act is obviously a foundational piece of U.S. policy towards Taiwan. I mean, it is very much the legal basis that governs the specific relationship between the United States and Taiwan. We talk about the Taiwan Relations Act as part of the U.S. One China policy, and we tend to talk about the TRA alongside the other pieces like the three communiques and the six assurances. But, the three communiques and six assurances does have a more profound angle between the United States and the PRC, while the Taiwan Relations Act is very much focused on the United States and Taiwan.
Has the TRA proven effective since its passing?
Keeping in mind at the founding, this was somewhat of a reaction to the change of recognition by the executive branch that this was an act by Congress and codified in U.S. domestic law. So in a way, its origins was not meant to be a perfect framework for a policy governing an unofficial relationship. So in terms of whether the U.S. has kind of lived up to the TRA expectations, we can kind of look at the intent behind the TRA, which is to preserve de facto U.S.-Taiwan relations, which we can see today are very much thriving in the security and economic sphere. So from that perspective, perhaps we can say yes, that has led to that foundation. Has it led to an outcome in the Cross-Strait that I think the founders of the TRA might have wanted to see? I think that's much more questionable. We have seen that the TRA has not deterred China from seeking unification with Taiwan, and we're seeing China acting more and more provocatively in pursuit of that goal, especially in recent years, to great concern here in Washington.
Given all that you said, is the TRA still an effective framework for conducting unofficial ties between the two countries, or is something stronger needed?
I think right now we're seeing a sort of a broader discussion about that in the policy circles. In recent years, we've seen a lot of exploration of is the sort of strategic ambiguity offered by the current One China policy, of which the TRA is a part of, sufficient. And I think it really depends on how we want to think about the unofficial relationship between the United States and Taiwan. I think the TRA gives enough framework and basis there for the continuation of trade, for example, U.S. defense commitments to Taiwan, arms sales to Taiwan, for example. I mean, these are very much language that are clearly governed by the TRA. I think the question is there sufficient motivation to sort of enact both in the letter and the spirit of the Taiwan Relations Act? And I think that's very much a political and policy trend that we're seeing right now, where, whether we're seeing there's sufficient will to act on some of the more difficult aspects of the deepening U.S.-Taiwan relations.
That was National Bureau of Asian Research Fellow Tiffany Ma speaking with TaiwanPlus reporter Jeremy Olivier. Taiwan's military is conducting anti-air missile drills in the southern county of Pingdong. The exercises, known as Divine Bow in English, test the military's ability to defend against aerial targets. These drills take place every year and use American-made weaponry. In this exercise, soldiers on the ground have only 10 seconds to locate, take aim, and fire at targets. Taiwan's military says it's detected a total of 10 Chinese aircraft and 7 ships around the country in the last 24 hours. Of the 10 aircraft, 6 crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait, with the closest flying around 54 nautical miles from Taichung in Taiwan center, 62 miles from Keelung, and 90 miles from Taiwan's southernmost tip. China regularly sends warplanes, balloons, and ships near Taiwan as a form of military pressure. Taiwan's military says it's monitoring the situation. 5 people are dead and 36 injured after a fire in a residential building in Hong Kong. The fire broke out in the densely populated Jordan neighborhood of Kowloon. At least 250 residents were rescued. First responders say the fire started on the first and second floors of the 16-story building where some businesses were located. Hualien's tourism industry could lose more than $160 million due to last week's massive earthquake, and that figure is just for the month of April. As John Van Triest reports, staff at some hotels who've already lost their homes may soon lose their jobs too.
From the outside, earthquake damage to the Chateau de Chine Hotel in Hualien is hard to spot. But the findings from building inspectors are clear. Last week's 7.2 earthquake has damaged this building beyond repair. After decades of operation, it'll have to come down. The owners plan to rebuild, but in the meantime, all 86 of its staff are out of work. It's more bad news for this scenic part of Taiwan, where tourism drives the economy. Some people already lost their homes in the quake, and the prospect of losing their jobs as well has left them with an uncertain future. The owners have other hotels and businesses elsewhere in Taiwan and will transfer staff willing to make the move, but that could mean moving to a different part of the country. The rest will get severance pay in line with Taiwanese law, something officials have promised to enforce.
资方应尽的法定义务及劳方应了解的权益事项来做宣导以及协助。那后续在资方的这个应尽义务的执行上，那我们会来做深切的了解以及监督。
But these employees at least have a chance at a replacement job. The staff at the destroyed Taroko Village Hotel may have to figure things out for themselves.
因为没有办法经营下去，我们会资遣，最起码你们有一点费用。那看这个国家公园可能要好几年才能恢复，自己饭店度假屋呢也有一些重创，所以我们就决定呢先资遣这个大概40位员工。
Not all of Hualien's tourism infrastructure was damaged, but even the survivors are in for hard times. Taroko National Park, one of the country's big attractions, is closed indefinitely, and disruptions from the earthquake have led to many cancellations. As hotel bookings plunge, the local tourism industry predicts losses of $166 million in April alone. Although the shaking has dropped off, the shock from this earthquake continues. Eason Chen and John Van Triest for TaiwanPlus.
The bodies of 3 people have been found in Taroko National Park, raising the death toll from last week's earthquake to 16. The bodies were discovered buried under a rock slide on a popular hiking trail. Taroko National Park is in Hualien County near the epicenter of last week's magnitude 7.2 earthquake off Taiwan's east coast. The quake caused major landslides throughout the area, and authorities say the park will remain closed indefinitely. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, take a look at these glass bangles being made in Pakistan. They're worn during the festival of Eid, marking the end of the holy month of Ramadan. I'm Liao. Take care, and I'll see you next time.